Good morning, class. I'm just going to go over the answers to genetic practice problems. If you are in class, please turn to packet page 8. If you're at home, make sure you fill out the Google form labeled Lesson 42 Genetics Practice Problems. Please make sure to do this after you do your bell work so you have those definitions in front of you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to match the terms to their definition. So the first one says the organism's genetic makeup. They're gene pairs. So I have clicked on its genotype, and that is correct. The next one is a phenotype. So for a phenotype, it's the physical appearance of a trait. Okay, so make sure you have that. All right. So it says for each genotype below, indicate whether it's heterozygous, homozygous dominant, or homozygous recessive. Okay? All right. So capital A, that is two dominant genes. So they are the same. I'm going to click on homozygous dominant, two capital, and they're the same. The next one says capital B, lowercase b. These are two different. This is considered a hybrid or heterozygous because it contains one capital, one lowercase, one dominant, one recessive. Next, we have capital C, lowercase c. Take a second, make a choice. Okay, it is also heterozygous. Next, we have capital D, capital D. That's homozygous, two of the same. Since they're capital, we're going to click on dominant. Next, we have capital E, lowercase e. Two different, hybrid, heterozygous. Little f, two recessive. Capital G, homozygous dominant. Capital H, homozygous dominant. Capital I, lowercase I, two different. Little j, homozygous recessive. Okay, the next one says for each of the genotypes below, determine what the phenotypes would be. Purple flowers are dominant to white flowers. Okay, so purple is going to be our capital P, because that's dominant. White flowers we'll use for recessive, we'll use lowercase p. So if the gene pairs have capital P, the phenotype, how will they physically appear? Well, since it has a dominant, even though it has two, it doesn't matter. As long as it has one, it's going to be purple. Capital P, this is a hybrid or heterozygous. It's also going to be purple. And lowercase p is going to be a white flower. Next, for each of the genotypes below, determine what the phenotypes would be. Would it be brown eyes or blue eyes? They're telling you that brown eyes are dominant to blue eyes. So here are our genotypes. Homozygous, dominant. Big B, big B. That is going to have a phenotype of brown eyes. Capital B, lowercase b is going to be, you guessed it, brown eyes. Lowercase b, that individual will have blue eyes. The only way to have blue eyes is to have two genes that are recessive, two blue-eyed genes, and that is blue-eyed. Okay, for each phenotype, list the possible genotypes. Straight hair is dominant to curly. Okay, so they're using the letter H. Capital H is going to represent straight hair. Curly hair is going to be represented, or the recessive gene is going to be represented by a lowercase h. So it says straight. There are two genotypes that will give you the dominant trait. So if I want to guess what genotypes will give me straight hair as my phenotype, it would be capital H, and capital H, lowercase h. Okay? And then for curly, it's going to be little h. So on the top, you could have picked either one. Tail spikes are dominant to plain tails. Okay, so if I have spikes, it's dominant. Okay, so I'm going to pick this one this time, and I'm going to say plain is recessive, so I'm going to pick that one. In the example below, round seeds are dominant to wrinkled. Okay, this sounds like a Mendel Punnett square. The parent genotypes are capital R, lowercase r, and lowercase r, lowercase r. Use the Punnett square to fill out the answers and the questions that follow. So here we have this beautiful Punnett square. Here's our parents crossed. Here's our possible offspring, each box representing 25%. So it says if round is dominant to wrinkled, select the phenotypes for each genotype. So capital R, okay, would be, we all know, is going to be round. A hybrid is going to be round, and this one is going to be wrinkled. Based on the Punnett square, what's the probability the offspring will be round? Let's look back at this Punnett square. So this one's going to be round because it has a capital. This one's going to be wrinkled because it does not have a capital, 2 recessive. This one's going to be round because it has a capital, and this one's going to be wrinkled because it doesn't have any dominant traits or capitals. So it seems to me that 50% of the offspring will be round and 50% of the offspring will be wrinkled. Let's look back and see what we have. Based on the Punnett square above, what's the probability the offspring will be round? Remember, round is dominant, and so we have 50%. Looking again, what's the probability that the offspring will be homozygous recessive? So hopefully you have figured out that homozygous means same, recessive means lowercase. So the answer would have to reflect a genotype of little r, little r. So let's go back and remember it's only in here. Do not count this one. This is the parent. We only count in the box for the offspring. So I have a 25% here and a 25% here. So that is 50% again. All right, let's do another Punnett square. The Punnett square below shows a different set of parents and therefore a different outcome for the offspring. What are the genotypes of the parents? So be very careful. The parents. Here's the genotype of one parent. Here's the genotype of another. Okay, this is one. This is the other. So I'm going to have to be very careful and pick capital R, and capital R, lowercase r. Okay, don't mix them around. If round is dominant to wrinkled, what is the probability that the offspring will be round? Let's look here. Well, I have offspring in here. This one's going to be round. This one's going to be round. This one's going to be round. This one's going to be round because they all have at least one dominant. 25, 50, 75, 100%. The Punnett square below shows a different combination of parents. This time, both parents are heterozygous, capital R, lowercase r. If round is dominant to wrinkled, what's the percentage of the offspring being round? Offspring in the boxes. So I have capital R, lowercase r crossed with capital R, lowercase r, 2 hybrids, and these are my possibilities. So if I want to know if the percentage they're round, I have to look at the phenotype. This is dominant, it's going to be round. It has a dominant, it's going to be round. Has a dominant, it's going to be round. Has no dominant, 2 recessive, it's going to be wrinkled. 25 plus 25 plus 25 is 75% round. If the parents are both capital R, lowercase r, they carry the dominant trait and therefore are both round. Can they have a wrinkled offspring? Well, let's look in the box. Can they have a wrinkled offspring? Well, we have round, round, round. This one has 2 recessive. The only way you can get a wrinkled is to have 2 recessive. So yes, they can. What are their chances? Well, round, round, round. That's 75% round, 25% wrinkled. That would be this choice right here. All right, guys, if you have to watch it again to make sure you have the right answers before you hit submit, you may. And make sure that you've checked over your work for packet page 8 as well. All right, have a wonderful day.